It's one of those nights where everything feels a little blurry, a little out of focus. The kind of night where decisions are made in the heat of the moment, and consequences seem like they belong to someone else's life. For Mia, a struggling young woman trying to make ends meet while juggling 2 jobs, tonight was supposed to be her escape. A rare chance to let loose with friends after weeks of non-stop work. But what she doesn't realize is that this night will change her life forever. One wrong text, one mistaken identity, and suddenly the line between reality and fantasy starts to blur. What happens when a drunk, vulnerable girl mistakes a powerful CEO for her best friend? And what if that same CEO has been quietly obsessed with her from afar? Mia isn't your typical protagonist. She's relatable, flawed, and real. Her days are filled with endless shifts at the coffee shop and late-night cleaning gigs. Also, she can afford rent in a city that never seems to slow down. Despite her struggles, she carries an infectious optimism, laughing off bad dates and finding joy in small victories. Tonight, however, something feels different. Maybe it's the way the music pulses through her veins. Or maybe it's the liquid courage coursing through her system. Whatever it is, it leads her to pull out her phone and send a series of selfies to someone she believes is her best friend, Emma. Little does she know, these pictures aren't landing in the hands of her bubbly, supportive confidant. They're being received by someone entirely unexpected. Enter Alexander Hartwell, the enigmatic CEO of Hartwell Enterprises. Wealthy, commanding, and impossibly handsome, he's used to getting what he wants. Yet there's one thing money can't buy: the heart of the woman who unknowingly holds his attention every time their paths cross. Alexander has seen Mia before, at the coffee shop where she works, on the streets as she rushes to her next job, even in passing at events he attends. To him, she's more than just another face in the crowd. She's the embodiment of everything he admires, but feels he can't have. So when his phone buzzes late at night and he sees a string of playful, slightly tipsy selfies pop up, his world tilts. At first he assumes it's a mistake, but then curiosity takes over. Who is this girl really texting? And why does it feel like fate is playing its hand? The tone of this story is equal parts lighthearted and intense, balancing moments of humor with underlying tension. As Mia drunkenly types out messages meant for Emma, each word becomes a thread, pulling her closer to Alexander without her realizing it. "You won't believe how cute I look tonight," one message reads, accompanied by a selfie that makes Alexander's breath hitch. Another says, "I swear I'm gonna marry Ryan Gosling someday." It's innocent enough, but to Alexander, every sentence feels loaded with meaning. He knows he should ignore the texts, chalk them up to a harmless error, but he can't help himself. There's something magnetic about her vulnerability, her unfiltered honesty. He finds himself responding, not as himself, but pretending to be Emma. Meanwhile, Mia remains blissfully unaware of the mix-up. In her mind, she's simply venting to her best friend, sharing snippets of her chaotic yet hopeful life. She talks about her dreams of becoming a photographer, her frustration with men who don't understand her, and her secret fear that she'll always be stuck in this cycle of barely scraping by. Each message deepens the connection between her and Alexander, even though she thinks she's talking to Emma. On his end, Alexander feels torn. Part of him knows this is wrong, that he's stepping into territory he shouldn't, but another part of him can't resist the opportunity to get closer to her, to learn more about the girl who haunts his thoughts. As the night wears on, the stakes grow higher. Mia's messages become increasingly personal, revealing pieces of herself she rarely shares with anyone. Alexander listens intently, hanging on to every word. He learns about her favorite books, her love for sunsets, and the reason she named her cat Pickles. With each revelation, his feelings for her intensify. But guilt begins to creep in too. How long can he keep up this charade? And what will happen when Mia discovers the truth? Will she hate him for deceiving her? Or will she see the depth of emotion behind his actions? What makes this story compelling is the push and pull between the characters. Mia represents authenticity and resilience, qualities that draw Alexander to her despite their vastly different worlds. He, on the other hand, embodies power and control, traits that often isolate him from others. Their dynamic creates a fascinating contrast, highlighting themes of class disparity, identity, and the universal desire for connection. It also raises questions about morality and intention. Is Alexander's deception forgivable because of his genuine affection for Mia, or does the lie overshadow any potential for real love? Just as things start to spiral, Mia sends a final message that leaves Alexander reeling. "You're my person, M," she writes, followed by a heart emoji. The weight of those words hits him like a freight train. He's not her person. He's not even close, but the longing in his chest tells him he wants to be. Before he can respond, his phone goes dark. Did she pass out? Did she realize her mistake? Or worse, did someone else find her phone and put the pieces together? The uncertainty gnaws at him, leaving him restless and anxious. Cut to the next morning. Mia wakes up groggy and disoriented, her head pounding from the previous night's festivities. Memories come flooding back in fragmented flashes. The dancing, the laughter, the selfies. She grabs her phone, expecting to see Emma's replies. Instead, she finds a series of responses from an unknown number. Confusion gives way to panic as she scrolls through the conversation, piecing together the horrifying realization that she may have sent intimate photos to a complete stranger. But before she can fully process what happened, a new message pops up. It's brief, cryptic, and signed only with the initials AH. "Good morning, Mia. We need to talk." And just like that, the stage is set for chaos. Who is AH? Why does he want to talk to her? And most importantly, how much does he know? The unresolved tension hangs heavy in the air, promising twists and turns ahead. As viewers, we're left wondering whether this encounter will lead to disaster or destiny. Will Mia uncover Alexander's true identity? Can their connection survive the lies and misunderstandings? Or will the gap between their worlds prove too wide to bridge? The answers lie just beyond the horizon, waiting to unfold in the chapters to come. Mia stared at the message, her heart pounding in her chest. The initials AH didn't mean anything to her, yet, but there was something about the tone of those 5 words that sent a shiver down her spine. "We need to talk." It wasn't threatening, exactly, but it carried an urgency that made her uneasy. She glanced around her tiny apartment, as if searching for answers, hidden in the peeling wallpaper or the stack of unpaid bills on her kitchen counter. Who was this person? And why did they have access to what should have been private? Embarrassing moments from last night. Her mind raced back to the bar, replaying snippets of the evening. She remembered laughing with her friends, taking selfies, and feeling carefree for the first time in ages. Then came the texts. Or at least, she thought they were going to Emma. Had she really sent them to someone else? Someone important enough to demand a conversation? Panic bubbled up inside her, and she almost dropped her phone when another message appeared. "Don't worry, Mia. I'm not angry. Just curious." Curious? That word stuck out like a sore thumb. Curiosity wasn't supposed to feel this ominous. She hesitated before typing a reply, her fingers hovering over the screen. Finally, she settled on a cautious question. "Who are you?" Seconds later, His response came through. Someone who's seen more of you than you might realize. Her stomach churned. Was he some creepy stalker? Or worse, someone connected to one of her jobs? She couldn't afford any drama right now. Not with rent due next week and her boss breathing down her neck. Meanwhile, across town, Alexander sat in his sleek penthouse office, staring at his phone like it held the secrets to the universe. He'd spent half the night replaying their conversation in his head, analyzing every word Mia had sent him. There was something intoxicating about the way she spoke so freely, without pretense or calculation. Most people tiptoed around him, afraid to say the wrong thing. Not Mia. Even drunk, she radiated authenticity. And yet, here he was, pretending to be someone else. A betrayal that gnawed at his conscience. Alexander knew he should have ended the charade last night when he realized what was happening. Instead, he let himself get swept up in the moment, responding to her messages as though he were Emma. Now he faced a dilemma. Telling Mia the truth could destroy whatever fragile connection they'd built. Keeping quiet meant continuing the lie, risking even greater fallout down the line. Either way, he was trapped in a web of his own making. As the hours ticked by, their exchange grew tenser. Mia demanded answers, while Alexander danced around the truth, offering vague reassurances instead. He told her they'd meet soon, promising clarity, but not too much clarity. Every sentence he crafted felt like walking a tightrope, balancing honesty with self-preservation. For her part, Mia oscillated between anger and fear. Whoever this man was, he clearly had power over her. Power she didn't fully understand yet. Still, she refused to back down. If anything, his evasiveness only fueled her determination to uncover his identity. Back at work, Mia struggled to focus. The coffee shop buzzed with customers, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the mysterious AH. What did he want from her? Why did he seem so familiar, even though she couldn't place him? As she served lattes and wiped down tables, pieces of the puzzle began falling into place. A nagging memory surfaced. His name mentioned during a conversation with Emma weeks ago. Hartwell Enterprises. Alexander Hartwell, the CEO whose company dominated billboards across the city. The same man who occasionally stopped by the coffee shop, always impeccably dressed, always distant. Her hands trembled as the realization hit her. Could it be him? The man who ordered black coffee every Tuesday morning, barely glancing at her beyond a polite nod. The man whose piercing gaze lingered just a second too long whenever their paths crossed. No, it couldn't be. Why would someone like him care about her drunken selfies? Unless he'd been watching her all along. The thought sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her veins. Was she flattered? Terrified? Both? While Mia grappled with her suspicions, Alexander, prepared for their inevitable meeting, he booked a quiet cafe downtown, choosing a location neutral enough to avoid drawing attention, but intimate enough for a serious conversation. As he drove there, his mind swirled with conflicting emotions. On one hand, he craved the chance to explain himself, to bridge the gap between them. On the other, he dreaded the possibility of rejection. If Mia found out the extent of his deception, she might never forgive him. Their encounter unfolded like a scene from a movie. Mia arrived first, clutching her coat tightly around her, as though shielding herself from the cold, and perhaps from him. When Alexander walked in, their eyes locked immediately. Time seemed to stand still as they took each other in, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavy in the air. Neither smiled, neither moved. For a moment, It felt like the entire world had faded away, leaving only the two of them, suspended in uncertainty. "Mia," Alexander said finally, his voice steady, despite the storm raging within him. "I owe you an explanation." His words broke the spell, snapping her back to reality. She studied him carefully, noting the tension etched into his features. Despite her earlier resolve, she felt a flicker of sympathy. Whatever this was, it clearly weighed heavily on him. He gestured toward an empty table, inviting her to sit. Reluctantly, she followed, perching on the edge of her chair, as though ready to bolt at any moment. Once seated, Alexander launched into his confession, laying bare the events of the previous night. He admitted to receiving her messages by mistake, to responding under false pretenses, and to harboring feelings for her that went far deeper than she could imagine. Each revelation hung in the air like a grenade waiting to explode. For Mia, the confession was both shocking and strangely validating. Part of her had suspected something like this, but hearing it aloud confirmed her worst fears and her wildest hopes. Here was a man who saw her, truly saw her, beneath the surface of her chaotic life. Yet his actions complicated everything. Trust, once broken, isn't easily repaired. And trust was something Mia guarded fiercely. As their conversation deepened, layers of vulnerability emerged. Alexander spoke of his loneliness, of the isolating nature of wealth and success. Mia shared her struggles, her dreams, and the relentless pressure to survive in a world that often felt stacked against her. Their differences became glaringly obvious, yet so did their shared humanity. In that moment, the line between love and obsession blurred, leaving both of them teetering on the brink of something neither fully understood. But just as they began to find common ground, a new twist threw everything into chaos. A text from Emma interrupted their discussion, revealing a detail neither had anticipated. Suddenly, the stakes skyrocketed, forcing them to confront not only their feelings for each other, but also the consequences of choices made in the heat of passion. With tensions mounting and secrets unraveling, the climax loomed closer, and the resolution remained tantalizingly out of reach. The text from Emma hit Mia like a lightning bolt. It was short, but loaded with implications. "Did you know Alexander Hartwell has been asking about you?" Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The lingering glances at the coffee shop, the way he always seemed to appear when she least expected it. And now this confession that had left her reeling. Her heart raced as she looked across the table at Alexander, who stared back at her with a mixture of guilt and desperation in his eyes. He hadn't denied it. He couldn't. The truth hung between them, raw and undeniable. Mia's mind raced as she processed what Emma's message meant. Was this some twisted game? Had Alexander been manipulating her all along? Or was there something deeper, something genuine, behind his actions? She felt torn, caught between anger at his deception and an undeniable pull toward the man sitting across from her. For weeks, maybe even months, she'd sensed his presence hovering on the edges of her life, but she dismissed it as coincidence or paranoia. Now she realized how wrong she'd been. Alexander leaned forward, his voice trembling slightly. "I never wanted to hurt you, Mia. I swear. When those messages came through, I don't know what I thought. Maybe it was fate giving me a chance to get closer to you." His words were sincere, but they landed like stones in a still pond, rippling outward and stirring emotions Mia didn't know how to handle. Part of her wanted to believe him, to see past the lies and focus on the vulnerability in his voice. But trust wasn't something she gave easily. "You lied to me," Mia said finally, her tone sharp but not unkind. "You pretended to be someone else, someone I trusted. How am I supposed to look past that?" Her question hung in the air, heavy with accusation and pain. Alexander flinched visibly, running a hand through his hair as if searching for answers. I messed up," he admitted. "But I'm here now, telling you everything, because I want us to have a real shot. Not just because of last night's texts, but because I've spent months watching you, admiring you, wishing I could find a way to be part of your world. You're extraordinary, Mia. And yes, I made mistakes, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right." His words struck a chord deep within her. Despite herself, Mia felt a flicker of hope ignite. This wasn't the arrogant billionaire she'd imagined. He was flawed, human, and achingly sincere. But forgiveness wasn't easy, especially when the stakes were so high. If she let him in, truly let him in, would he live up to his promises? Or would their differences tear them apart? As the conversation unfolded, the tension between them shifted. They talked for hours, peeling back layers of fear, pride, and misunderstanding. Alexander opened up about his lonely childhood, the pressure of living up to his family's legacy, and the emptiness that wealth couldn't fill. Mia shared her own struggles, the sacrifices she'd made to survive, the dreams she'd put on hold, and the walls she'd built to protect herself from disappointment. Somewhere along the way, their defenses began to crumble, replaced by a fragile connection neither of them had anticipated. By the time they left the cafe, the sun was setting, casting golden light over the city streets. Neither of them spoke, much as they walked side by side, their footsteps sinking naturally. The weight of the day lingered between them, but there was also a sense of possibility, a spark neither was ready to extinguish. Alexander stopped suddenly, turning to face her. "Mia, I can't promise it'll be easy. We come from different worlds, and people will judge us for trying. But I can promise you this, I'll fight for you, every step of the way." His voice broke slightly on the last word, betraying the depth of his feelings. Tears welled in Mia's eyes as she looked at him. She wanted to believe him, to take a leap of faith despite everything. And maybe, just maybe, she already had. "Okay," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the city around them. "But if we're doing this, no more secrets, no more pretending." A smile spread across Alexander's face, softening the hard lines of his expression. "No more secrets," he agreed, reaching out to take her hand, their fingers intertwined, tentative yet firm, as though sealing an unspoken pact. In the weeks that followed, their relationship became a delicate dance of compromise and growth. Alexander learned to navigate Mia's world, the cramped apartment, the long hours at work, the quiet moments of joy she found in photography. In turn, Mia stepped into his world, attending events and meetings that once intimidated her. Together, they faced skepticism from friends and colleagues, proving that love could transcend boundaries if both parties were willing to try. Emma played a pivotal role in bridging the gap between them. Initially wary of Alexander's intentions, she eventually warmed up to him after seeing how much he cared for Mia. "Just don't screw this up," she warned him one evening, her tone half joking, but laced with seriousness. Alexander nodded solemnly, knowing he owed it to both women to prove himself worthy. The climax of their story came during a charity gala, hosted by Hartwell Enterprises. As cameras flashed and guests mingled, Alexander took the stage to announce a new initiative aimed at supporting underprivileged artists. A project inspired by Mia's passion for photography. Standing beside him, holding his hand, Mia felt a surge of pride and gratitude. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about creating opportunities for others, building bridges where none existed before. As the evening drew to a close, Alexander pulled Mia aside, away from the crowd. "Thank you," he said simply, his gaze steady and full of emotion. "For believing in me, for letting me be part of your life." Mia smiled, squeezing his hand. "We're in this together, remember?" And they were, imperfect, uncertain, but undeniably committed to making it work. Their journey wasn't without challenges, but each obstacle only strengthened their bond. Love, they discovered, wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other again and again, no matter the odds. As the final scene faded, viewers were left with a powerful takeaway: that true connection transcends labels, wealth, and circumstance. It's built on honesty, trust, and the courage to embrace vulnerability. For Mia and Alexander, their story was proof that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings.